Many monarchs throughout history have been victims of rumors, myths, and exaggerated tales, but few have been as profoundly misunderstood as Queen Victoria. The phrase, "diabolic vices of Queen Victoria once," might seem sensational, but it underscores the depth of fascination and curiosity surrounding the enigmatic queen. As we delve into her era and the surrounding myths, it becomes crucial to separate fact from fiction. This video aims to place Queen Victoria within the context of her time, debunking the myths and shedding light on the genuine character behind the British throne. One cannot discuss the Victorian era without acknowledging the seismic changes brought about by the Industrial Revolution. Factories sprang up across the landscape, churning out goods at an unprecedented pace. The railroad became the spine of the nation, connecting cities and bringing about rapid urbanization. With the proliferation of industries came job opportunities, but also challenges. Cities were often overcrowded, and the living conditions for the working class were deplorable. However, this industrial boom solidified Britain's position as the world's leading economic power. With industrial progress came social awareness. The plight of the working class, especially child laborers, came into sharp focus. It was an era of reform, with acts being passed to regulate working hours, improve living conditions, and later on, expand the voting franchise. Notably, the push for women's rights gained momentum during this time, setting the stage for the suffragette movement. The Victorian society was infamously strict when it came to moral conduct and etiquettes. There was a marked emphasis on family values, religious piety, and a code of decorum. This is where some of the misconceptions about Queen Victoria's personal life may have originated, as she, like many Victorians, upheld a staunch moral code, emphasizing modesty and restraint. The phrase, "the sun never sets on the British Empire," gained weight during Victoria's reign. Britain's imperial conquests expanded to corners of the world, from Africa to Asia. This imperialism brought both wealth and cultural exchange, but also sowed the seeds of dissent and rebellion in colonized nations. Queen Victoria's role as the Empress of India in 1877 epitomized the zenith of British imperial power. The Victorian era was not just about industrial and imperial might. It was a golden age for British literature, arts, and scientific discoveries. Literary giants like Charles Dickens, George Eliot, and Thomas Hardy provided a mirror to society, reflecting both its brilliance and its flaws. Meanwhile, scientists like Charles Darwin challenged existing norms, pushing humanity to reconsider its place in the natural order. Queen Victoria's reign saw a shift in the monarchy's role. While she retained significant influence, especially in her early years, the political power gradually moved towards an effective parliamentary democracy. The monarchy's role became more symbolic, representing the unity and pride of the nation, even as the actual policy-making shifted to the elected representatives. The Victorian era was a crucible of change, where old met new, traditions met innovations, and an empire stretched its wings. Queen Victoria, with her long reign, became synonymous with this era, embodying its values, witnessing its changes, and shaping its legacy. To understand the Queen, one must first appreciate the epoch that bore her name, a time of immense progress, deep-seated values, and an empire upon which the sun never set. Queen Victoria's life and reign have been subject to scrutiny, fascination, and, unsurprisingly, numerous misconceptions. A life lived in the public eye, combined with the rapid changes and global reach of the British Empire, made her a perfect canvas upon which society, both then and now, has painted various tales, some true, many exaggerated or outright false. One of the most enduring and popular myths about Queen Victoria is the phrase, "we are not amused." It is commonly believed that she made this remark in response to a joke she found inappropriate. Whether or not she ever uttered these words remains contested, but the phrase has since cast her as a humorless, dour figure. In reality, letters and accounts from those who knew her describe Victoria as having a vibrant sense of humor, full of laughter and joy, especially in her younger years. The death of Prince Albert in 1861 was a significant blow to Queen Victoria. Her grief was profound, leading her to wear black mourning attire for the remainder of her life. This has led to the perception that she was perpetually melancholic. While her mourning was deep and extended, this doesn't mean she withdrew from life or her duties. Over time, she continued to engage with her role as a monarch, traveled, and even developed close relationships, notably with her servant John Brown, another source of much speculation. Tied to her mourning period, there's a misconception that Queen Victoria became a recluse after Albert's death, rarely seen by the public. While she did retreat from public life temporarily, she did not abandon her duties. As years passed, she resumed public appearances and continued her travels across the British Isles and the European continent. The title, Empress of India, might suggest that Victoria was deeply involved in the direct administration or conquests in India. While she did have an interest in Indian affairs and maintained a close relationship with her Indian servant Abdul Karim, much to the chagrin of the royal court, she never visited India herself. Her role in Indian administration was largely ceremonial, and many decisions were made without her direct input. The image of a stern, unyielding matriarch might be how many perceive Queen Victoria, especially in her later years. However, personal letters and diaries reveal a woman of deep emotion. She was a loving mother, albeit with complicated relationships with her children, and was often moved by the plights of her subjects. Her strong sense of duty did not negate her humanity. Given the stringent moral code and social restraints of the Victorian era, it might be easy to assume that Queen Victoria was against the emancipation of women. While she did have conservative views and was skeptical of the suffragette movement, it's a simplification to label her as wholly against women's rights. She admired and supported strong women around her, especially in roles of leadership and governance. As the monarchy's role evolved during her reign, with the political power shifting towards parliamentary democracy, some believed Queen Victoria was merely a figurehead with little to no say in the matters of state. While it's true that by the end of her reign, the monarchy had become more symbolic than before, Victoria was actively involved in her early years, often exerting her influence on prime ministers and policies. Myths and misconceptions arise in the vacuum of understanding. In the case of Queen Victoria, her long reign, combined with an era of rapid change, has given rise to a myriad of tales. While some are rooted in truth, others are the product of speculation, societal expectations, or the simple human tendency to mythologize prominent figures. To genuinely understand Queen Victoria, one must sift through these layers of myth, separating the woman from the legend. Only then can we begin to grasp the complexities and nuances of Britain's second-longest reigning monarch. The Victorian era, punctuated by sweeping social changes and British imperial dominance, was largely defined by the monarch after whom it was named. Yet, behind the imperial facades and ceremonial duties, Queen Victoria was a woman of deep passion, conviction, and a rich personal life that both complemented and contrasted her public persona. Born Alexandrina Victoria in 1819, she was the only child of Edward, Duke of Kent, and Victoria Maria Louisa of Saxe-Coburg. With the death of her father and grandfather early in her life, Victoria found herself next in line for the throne. She ascended as queen in 1837 at the tender age of 18. Her youth saw her leaning on her advisors, most notably the Prime Minister, Lord Melbourne, who became her trusted mentor in the realm of governance. Queen Victoria's relationship with her cousin, Prince Albert of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, is legendary. Theirs was not just a marriage of political convenience, it was a genuine love story. They first met when Victoria was 16 and, by her own account, felt an immediate attraction. They wed in 1840, marking the beginning of a partnership both in the personal and administrative realm. Together, they had 9 children, and their family life, though not without challenges, was filled with shared interests, from the arts to science and public affairs. With 9 children, Victoria's role as a mother was central to her personal life. Though she often found herself overwhelmed by the demands of motherhood and admittedly did not enjoy pregnancy, she took her role seriously. The education and marriage of her children were of paramount importance, ensuring strategic alliances across Europe's royal families. Her relationships with her children were diverse, ranging from close emotional bonds with some to strained relationships with others, like her eldest son, the future Edward VII. The death of Prince Albert in 1861 was a turning point in Victoria's life. Her soulmate's untimely departure plunged her into profound grief, leading her to wear black mourning attire for the remainder of her life. She leaned on her close companions, like her Scottish servant John Brown during these dark times, leading to much speculation about the nature of their relationship. However, their bond, whether platonic or romantic, provided solace to the grieving queen. In her later years, Queen Victoria formed a close bond with Abdul Karim, an Indian servant who soon became her munshi, or teacher. He educated her about India, its culture, and even taught her Urdu. Their unique relationship was a testament to Victoria's curiosity and her ability to form deep personal bonds beyond her immediate family or the royal court's confines. However, this relationship was not without its controversies, with many members of the royal household disapproving of Karim's proximity to the Queen. Queen Victoria's personal life was also deeply influenced by her faith. As the head of the Church of England, she held a devout belief in God, often leaning on her faith during challenging times. Her religious convictions provided a moral compass, guiding her decisions both in the personal and public sphere. Despite her demanding role, Queen Victoria had a deep appreciation for the arts. She herself was an avid painter, capturing landscapes and moments from her life. Music, too, held a special place in her heart, with Prince Albert being an accomplished musician. Together, they patronized various artists and musicians, enriching the cultural tapestry of their era. Queen Victoria's personal life was a rich tapestry of love, loss, motherhood, friendships, and personal passions. Far from the stern, unyielding monarch image that often gets portrayed, she was a woman of profound emotion and depth. Her relationships, whether with Prince Albert, her children, John Brown, or Abdul Karim, highlight a queen who sought and found solace, guidance, and companionship in her personal sphere, even as she navigated the challenges of an empire on which the sun never set. Queen Victoria's reign spanned over 6 decades, a period that witnessed dramatic political shifts and the reshaping of the British Empire. While the canvas of her personal life was rich with emotion and relationships, her role as the monarch was equally layered, with politics, power dynamics, and public perception playing crucial roles. Upon her ascendancy at 18, Victoria was faced with the challenges of navigating the political intricacies of a monarchy in transition. Initially under the guidance of her Prime Minister, Lord Melbourne, she learned the ropes of governance. This period saw her political naivety exploited at times, like during the bedchamber crisis. However, these experiences only sharpened her political acumen. After her marriage to Prince Albert, the monarchy experienced a phase termed by some historians as the Albertine monarchy. Prince Albert's influence was palpable, with the prince consort deeply involved in matters of state. Together, they attempted to position the monarchy above party politics, striving for a more neutral, symbolic role. However, this was a challenge, given the dynamic political landscape of the time. Throughout her reign, Queen Victoria worked with numerous prime ministers, from Lord Melbourne to Lord Salisbury. Her relationships with them varied. While she enjoyed close ties with some, like Disraeli, with whom she shared mutual respect and affection, she had strained relationships with others, like Gladstone, often clashing over policies and visions for the empire. One of the most significant political challenges during Victoria's reign was the Irish question. Famine, civil unrest, and demands for home rule marked the era. While the Queen expressed personal sympathy for the famine victims, her perceived inaction and the policies of her government made her a controversial figure in Irish history. Under Victoria's reign, the British Empire expanded dramatically. While she wasn't directly involved in colonial policies, her title as Empress of India in 1877 symbolized the empire's vastness. The Queen's perception in various colonies varied, revered in some places, while seen as a symbol of oppression in others. Victoria's reign marked the shift towards a constitutional monarchy. The real political power gradually transitioned to Parliament, especially the elected House of Commons. While the monarchy retained its ceremonial and symbolic roles, its direct influence on daily governance waned. Victoria, with her keen sense of duty, navigated this change with grace, ensuring the monarchy remained relevant and respected. The Victorian era also saw the rise of the press as a powerful tool of influence. Queen Victoria was the first British monarch to be under such intense media scrutiny. From newspapers to the early forms of photography, her life was documented, critiqued, and celebrated. The monarchy, recognizing the power of media, used it to craft a specific image, especially after Prince Albert's death, when Victoria's portrayal as the mourning widow consolidated her position as a symbol of moral rectitude. Victoria's death in 1901 marked the end of an era. The politics, power dynamics, and perceptions from her reign set the stage for the 20th century. The monarchy's role had been redefined, the British Empire had reached its zenith, and the political landscape had been forever changed. Victoria's reign, with its complexities, laid the groundwork for modern Britain. Queen Victoria's reign was not just about personal triumphs and tribulations, it was also about politics, power, and perception. In an era of rapid change, Victoria managed to steer the ship of the monarchy. While she faced criticisms and challenges, her enduring legacy as a monarch is testament to her ability to balance personal conviction with public duty, creating a blueprint for the monarchs that followed. In an era of burgeoning media influence, Queen Victoria's reign marked a pioneering phase of royal image management. The juxtaposition of her meticulously crafted public image against the backdrop of her genuine personality and private experiences provides a fascinating insight into the life of a monarch in the limelight. Post the demise of Prince Albert, Victoria's portrayal as the Widow of Windsor became a significant part of her public image. Cloaked in perpetual mourning attire, she was often depicted as the embodiment of moral virtue and domestic piety. While this image was rooted in truth, as she deeply mourned Albert's death, the continuous emphasis on her widowhood somewhat obscured her other facets, including her roles as a monarch, mother, and individual with diverse interests. Given her retreat from public life following Albert's death, Victoria was sometimes perceived as a reclusive, distant monarch, disconnected from her subjects. In reality, while she did value her private moments and grieved profoundly, she never wholly abandoned her royal duties. Her voluminous correspondence, meetings with prime ministers, and later public appearances are testament to her commitment to the role. The Victorian age championed the idea of domestic bliss and the role of the mother as the nucleus of family life. Victoria, with her 9 children, was often portrayed as the epitome of this maternal ideal. However, her personal letters and diaries reveal a more complex reality. While she loved her children, she did not always relish motherhood's rigors, often expressing exhaustion or frustration. Her relationships with her children were multifaceted, marked by both affection and, at times, tension. As the British Empire expanded, Queen Victoria's image as the Empress of India became synonymous with imperial grandeur. This larger-than-life representation often eclipsed the nuances of her thoughts on colonial affairs. In private, Victoria displayed curiosity about her colonies, particularly India, but wasn't deeply involved in the details of imperial administration. Queen Victoria's later years saw her being depicted as the stern, unyielding matriarch, resistant to change. While she did have strong opinions and a sense of duty, this image often overshadowed her ability to adapt. The very transition of the monarchy into a more constitutional role under her watch demonstrates her capacity to evolve with the times. The royal friendships of Victoria, particularly with John Brown and Abdul Karim, were often sensationalized by the media of the time. Speculations about the nature of these relationships ran rife. In contrast, Victoria's personal journals present a picture of deep platonic bonds rooted in mutual respect and companionship rather than scandal. Over time, Queen Victoria transitioned from being just a monarch to an icon of an era. The Victorian age represents values, morals, and societal norms, many of which are attributed directly to the Queen. Yet the woman behind this colossal image was more diverse, characterized by curiosity, passion, doubts, joys, and sorrows. The dichotomy between Queen Victoria, the symbol, and Victoria, the individual, remains one of the most captivating aspects of her life. Every public figure, especially one as prominent as a reigning monarch, inevitably grapples with the duality of public perception and private reality. Queen Victoria's reign offers a rich canvas illustrating this dynamic interplay. While her public image was often a carefully curated portrayal, tailored to the needs and expectations of her era, the reality was far more intricate. Delving beyond the facade reveals not just a queen, but a woman of depth, navigating her role amidst personal joys, sorrows, and the ever-watchful eye of her subjects. Top of form. Reflecting on Queen Victoria's life and reign, it becomes evident that she was not merely a monarch, but an epic unto herself. Her reign, which lasted over 6 decades, was a pivotal period for Britain and its expansive empire. Through the annals of her life, one discerns the undeniable presence of a woman who was as multifaceted as the era named after her. The very notion of the diabolic vices of Queen Victoria must be approached with a nuanced understanding of the socio-political context of her times. Often, judgments passed on historical figures are influenced by contemporary values and biases. The scrutiny faced by public figures, particularly monarchs, has always been intense. While Queen Victoria's reign was not devoid of controversies, her lasting legacy speaks volumes of her resilience, commitment, and ability to adapt. Throughout this exploration, we have seen the myriad roles she played: a young queen learning the ropes of governance, a passionate wife and a dedicated, if occasionally overwhelmed, mother, a symbol of empire, and, above all, a woman with personal joys, sorrows, friendships, and passions. Each chapter of her life offers a window into the challenges and triumphs she encountered, both in the public eye and private seclusion. The dance between public perception and private reality was a delicate one. In an era before digital media, and in the early days of print journalism, Queen Victoria was one of the first monarchs to be both celebrated and critiqued on such a broad scale. The images of the virtuous widow, the stern matriarch, or the grand empress were juxtaposed against the reality of a woman who grieved deeply, who had intense personal relationships, and who possessed a genuine curiosity about the wider world. Moreover, her political astuteness and the relationships she forged with her prime ministers, both congenial and contentious, shaped the British polity in ways that reverberate even today. As Britain transitioned from a traditional monarchy to a more modern constitutional model, Victoria found herself at the helm of change. The empire expanded, technology advanced, societal norms evolved, and through it all, the Victorian ethos emerged, often synonymous with moral rectitude, industrial progress, and imperial might. It's also crucial to address the juxtaposition of Victoria's reign with the broader tapestry of the 19th century. The world was rapidly changing, and Queen Victoria, whether by design or circumstance, became emblematic of that transformation. While Britain surged ahead with industrial and imperial ambitions, it also grappled with internal challenges like poverty, social reform, and the Irish question. Queen Victoria's reign is, in many ways, a mirror to the larger global narrative of progress, power, and paradox. As we conclude this exploration, the essence that emerges is not of a monarch defined by diabolic vices, but of a complex, multifaceted woman leading in complex times. Her legacy is not just in the annals of British history, but in the fabric of global events. She was a product of her era, yet she also shaped it. Queen Victoria's reign remains a testament to the intricate dance between personal agency and historical circumstance. In retrospect, the life of Queen Victoria serves as a poignant reminder of the challenges and triumphs that come with public service. It offers insights into the ever-present tension between duty and desire, image and identity, power and perception. As we look back from the vantage point of the present, Queen Victoria emerges not just as a queen or an empress, but as a woman who lived, loved, lost, and left an indelible mark on history.